welcome back to Friday Reads, where we help you find your next read. I'm Jill.
And I'm Julie, and this week we have immigration stories because we are promoting the Fox Cities Books Festivals. The big read is Patricia Engel's The Infinite Country, and on Friday, April 5th at 6:30, it's free admission. You can go to our the Performing Arts Center in downtown Appleton and hear her speak and hear about her books. So check out her book, and then Jill and I will tell you about some other immigration stories.
Okay, so my first pick this week is The Beekeeper of Aleppo by Christy Lefteri, the unforgettable love story of a mother blinded by the loss and her husband, who insists on their survival as they undertake the Syrian refugee trail in Europe. Nuri is a beekeeper, his wife Afra an artist. They live a simple life, rich in family and friends, in the beautiful Syrian country of Aleppo until the unthinkable happens. When all they care for is destroyed by war, they are forced to escape. But what Afra has seen is so terrible she has gone blind, and so they must embark on a perilous journey through Turkey and Greece towards an uncertain future in Britain. On the way, Nuri is sustained by knowledge that waiting for them is Mustafa, his cousin and business partner, who has started an apiary and is teaching fellow refugees in Yorkshire how to keep bees. As Nuri and Afra travel through the broken road, they must confront not only the pain of their own unspeakable loss, but dangers that would overwhelm the bravest of souls. Above all, they must journey to find each other again. And this was first published in 2019. The Beekeeper of Aleppo by Christy Lefteri.
My first pick is The Beautiful Things That Heaven Bears by Dinao Mengistu. This was published back in 2007, and that's the title in the US, Canada, and Australia, and it's also known as The Children of the Revolution in the UK. 17 years ago, Sifa Stephanos fled the Ethiopian Revolution after witnessing soldiers beat his father to the point of certain death, selling off his parents' jewelry to pay for passage to the United States. Now he finds himself running a grocery store in a poor African-American neighborhood in Washington, D.C. His only companions are two fellow African immigrants who share his feelings of frustration and their bitter nostalgia for their home continent. He realizes that his life has turned out completely different and far more isolated from the one he had imagined for himself years ago. Soon his neighborhood begins to change. Hope comes in the form of new neighbors, Judith and Naomi, a white woman and her biracial daughter, who become his friends and remind him of what having a family is like for the first time in many years. But when the neighborhood's newfound clan is disturbed by a series of racial incidents, Sifa may lose everything all over again. So check out The Beautiful Things That Heaven Bears.
So my next one is a nonfiction book. It's a true story of immigrants. Devil's Highway, True Story by Luis Alberto Urrea. The author of Across the Wire offers a brilliant investigative reporting of what went wrong in May 2001. A group of 26 men attempted to cross the Mexican border in the desert of southern Arizona. Only 12 men survived. Urrea masterfully brings to life the lives of 26 men and boys who attempt to enter the United States by walking across the treacherous southern Arizona desert called the Devil's Highway. In May 2001. He follows these men from their recruitment by Mexican gangsters to the border area where 3 guides took them over, and finally their horrific trek through 115 degrees sun in the Cabeza Prida National Wildlife Refuge. This book will make you feel for the migrants, you will understand the day-to-day life of border control, and you might end the book with opinions on immigration policies in the southern United States. This was published in 2004. The Devil's Highway.
My next pick is Behold the Dreamers, and this was published in 2016. Jenda Janga, a Cameroonian immigrant living in Harlem, has come to the United States to provide a better life for himself, his wife, and their 6-year-old son. In the fall of 2007, Jenda can hardly believe his luck when he lands a job as a chauffeur for Clark Edwards, a senior exec at Lehman Brothers. Edwards demands punctuality, discretion, and extreme loyalty, and Jenda is eager to please. Clark's wife, Cindy, even offers Jenda's wife temporary work at their home in the Hamptons. With these opportunities, they feel like they can at last gain a foothold in America and imagine a brighter future. However, the world of great power and privilege conceals troubling secrets, and soon Jenda and his wife notice cracks in their employers' facades. When the financial world is rocked by the collapse of Lehman Brothers, the Jangas are desperate to keep Jenda's job, even as their marriage threatens to fall apart. As all 4 lives are dramatically upended, The Jongas are forced to make impossible choices. So, sounded like an interesting book to me. So, behold the dreamers.
I like the title too. Ooh, the Dreamers. So you might recognize this. This is a autobiography, or by Diane Guerrero. In The Country You Love, My Family Divided. This woman was the star of Orange is the New Black and Jane the Virgin. She presents her personal story of the plight of undocumented immigrants in this country. Diane Guerrero, the television actress from the mega hit Orange is the New Black and Jane the Virgin, was just 14 years old on the day her parents and brother were arrested and deported while she was at school. Born in the U.S., Guerrero was able to remain in the country and continue her education, depending on the kindness of family friends who took her in and helped her build a life and successful acting career for herself, without a support system of her family. In The Country We Love is a moving, heartbreaking story of one woman's extraordinary resilience in the face of nightmarish struggles of undocumented residents in this country. There are over 11 million undocumented immigrants living in the U.S., many of whom have citizen children whose lives are just as precarious and whose stories haven't been told. Written with Michelle Burford, this memoir is a tale of personal triumph and also casts a much-needed light on the fears that haunt daily existence of families like the authors and on a system that fails them over and over again in the country we love. So
I'm looking at her on your cover, and then I'm looking at the back cover of her with the cotton candy as a young child. That's awesome. My third pick is Chiang-Rae Lee's Native Speaker, and this was published back in 1995.
Oh.
In this book, the author introduces readers to Henry Park. Park has spent his entire life trying to become a true American, a native speaker. But even as the essence of his adopted country continues to elude him, his Korean heritage seems to drift further and further away. Park's harsh Korean upbringing has taught him to hide his emotions, to remember everything he learns, and most of all, to feel an overwhelming sense of alienation. In other words, it has shaped him as a natural spy. But the very attributes that help him to excel in his profession put a strain on his marriage to his American wife and stand in the way of his coming to terms with his young son's death. When he is assigned to spy on a rising Korean-American politician, his very identity is tested, and he must figure out who he is amid not only the conflicts within himself, but also within the ethnic and political tensions of the New York City streets. Native Speaker is a story of cultural alienation. It's about fathers and sons, about the desire to connect with the world rather than stand apart from it. It's about loyalty and betrayal, and it's about the alien in all of us and who we finally are.
So back to the fiction. Lost Children Archive by Valeria Luiselli. This novel is about a family whose road trip across America collides with an immigration crisis at the southwestern border. A mother and father set out with their two children, a boy and a girl, driving from New York to Arizona in the heat of summer. Their destination, Apacheria, the place the Apaches once called home. Why Apaches? Asks the 10-year-old son. Because they were the last of something, answers his father. In their car, they play games and sing along to music, but on the radio, there is news about an immigration crisis. Thousands of kids trying to cross the southwestern border in the United States, but getting detained or lost in the desert along the way. As the family drives through Virginia to Tennessee, across Oklahoma and Texas, we sense they're on the brink of a crisis of their own. A fissure is growing between the parents, one that children can almost feel beneath their feet. They are led inexorably into a grand, harrowing adventure, both in the desert landscape within the chambers of their own imagination. So this was published in 2019, The Lost Children Archive.
My fourth pick comes from Tehu Cole, and this is Open City, and this was published in 2011. Along the streets of Manhattan, a young Nigerian doctor doing his residency wanders aimlessly. The walk meets a need for Julius. They are a release from the tightly regulated mental environment of his work, and they give him the opportunity to process his relationships, his recent breakup with his girlfriend, his present, and his past. But it is not only a physical landscape he covers. Julius crisscrosses social territory as well, encountering people from different cultures and classes who will provide insight on his journey, which takes him to Brussels, to the Nigeria of his youth, and to the most unrecognizable facets of his own soul. So it sounds pretty deep. Check out Open City.
So this one's kind of interesting because it's like mixes fantasy with an immigration story, which I think is interesting. So it's called Exit West by his name, Mohsin Hamed. In the country teetering on the brink of civil war, two young people meet, sensual, fiercely independent Nadia and gentle, restrained Saeed. They embark on a furtive love affair and are soon cloistered in a premature intimacy by the unrest roiling in their city. When it explodes, turning familiar streets into a patchwork of checkpoints and bomb blasts, they begin to hear whispers about doors that can whisk people away, if perilously and for a price. As the violence escalates, Nadia and Saeed decide they no longer have a choice. Leaving their homeland and their old lives behind, they find a door and they step through. Exit West follows these characters as they emerge into an alien and uncertain future, struggling to hold on to each other, to their past, and to the sense of who they are. Exit West.
My last pick comes from the nonfiction section, and this is The Faraway Brothers, Two Teenage Immigrants Making a Life in America by Lauren Markham. This was published back in 2019. It's the inspiring true story about identical twin teenage brothers who escape El Salvador's violence to build new lives in California as undocumented immigrants. Ernesto and Raul Flores are identical twins, used to being mistaken for each other. As 17-year-olds living in rural El Salvador, they think the United States is just a far-off dream. It's too risky, it's too expensive to start a life there. But when Ernesto ends up on the wrong side of MS-13, one of El Salvador's brutal gangs, he flees the country for his own safety. Raul, fearing that he will be mistaken for his brother, follows close behind. Running from one danger to the next, the twins make the harrowing journey north, crossing the Rio Grande and the Texas desert, only to fall into the hands of immigration authorities. When they finally make it to the custody of their older brother in Oakland, California, the difficulties don't end. While navigating a new school in a new language, struggling to pay off their mounting coyote debt, and anxiously waiting for their day in immigration court, the twins are also trying to lead normal teenage lives, dealing with girls, social media, fitting in. With only each other for support, they begin the process of carving out a life for themselves, one full of hope and possibility. It's adapted for young adults from the award-winning adult edition, The Faraway Brothers. It's an inspiring true story of two teens making their way in America, a personal look at U.S. immigration policy, and a powerful account of contemporary immigration. So this is from 2019. So, The Faraway Brothers.
Really cute. Twins fascinate me, too. That's interesting. Well, we hope we helped you find something to read if you're interested in immigration stories. And do check out this
Infinite Country.
The Big Read.
Join us on Friday, April 5th at 6:30 at the Fox Cities Performing Arts Center. We'd love a big crowd to hear her speak and talk about her book. You can find our videos on Facebook, on our YouTube channel. And until next time, we thank you for watching. Bye.